blackness I aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention. Education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Benskop upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and on the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal him. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Good night, viewers, and welcome to the program. Strange face this evening. Of course, if you are expecting Mark, my apologies. My name is Randolph Critchlow, and along with MP Annette Ferguson, we'll be here tonight taking you through. Annette, I see you didn't get to switch your camera around.
I'm still. Good evening, Randy. Good evening to our beautiful and wonderful viewers there on social media and those joining us via radio here in Guyana on the ground, 107.1 FM. I'm excited. I'm elated to be here, co-hosting with you, my brother. But as I try to, whilst we'll be on the program here, I'm trying to see if I can switch my devices. But nevertheless, let's just do what we have to do. The devil sometimes find work when we got to do what we have to do. But I'm ready and raring to go, my brother.
Definitely. And I want to encourage everyone, like Lily is encouraging in the live stream, to share the live, share the link so that others may be able to, take part in the information and that we're sharing tonight and the discussion and that we'll be having. I know a number of things are in the air, so I'm excited to get into the discussions this evening. So share the live stream. Good night, Desiree. Good night. She's saying good night to Randy and Anna. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Good night, Desiree.
Right. Well, on my program, I like to ask people where they're joining us from. So if you're in the comment section, you can let us know where you're joining us from. Where are you looking at the program from this evening? Let us know where you're looking at us from. If you're in Guyana, if you're in New York, in England, Barbados, in the Caribbean, let us know where you're joining us from this evening. Before we get into the discussions, I know as my comrade gets her devices, her device together. We can
Yes,
take some
yes.
of those comments. Lyndon is in the house. Queens, New York in the house. Thank you very much. Harlem, New York. Thank you very much for tuning in this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Good night from the
Good night.
DMV. Thank you very much. Brooklyn, New York. Share the live stream all over Brooklyn again. Canada is in the house. Texas is in the house. Thank you very much for tuning in. Brooklyn. Right.
Good. All right,
Guyana,
Randy.
Georgetown, Guyana. Great, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in this evening. Share as you come in. Tushin, New Jersey, all over the world. Good night, Jamal Aziz. Jamal is, of course, one of our loyal
Oh,
viewers. He is
yes.
locked into every single program. Every single
Yes.
program. Good night, Jamal.
Indeed. Good night, Jamal.
Massachusetts, North Rumvelt.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, Randy. So when you're ready, I'm ready.
Well,
I'm here
I
with
am
you.
ready. I am here.
Yes.
Earlier this afternoon we had our press conference, our weekly press conference. The opposite leader, the opposition, and so we discussed a number of things in that press conference. Quite a lengthy press conference, from local government to the economy, and of course, I would have dealt with the state of culture, youth, and sport in the country, and sounding the alarm that many have been sounding, but we don't seem to be. This is not a sexy topic like local government elections.
Yes.
So, it doesn't get a lot of your time. And I believe because of that, Ramson gets away with a lot of murder. A lot of craziness is happening at the Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Sport. And we can spend all night talking about that. You would not be, let me tell you this, Mr. MP Ferguson, you would not believe the extent of the madness that is
Wow.
happening at the Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Sport.
Well, I would love to hear, because it seems as though you have all the facts, all the information that
Yeah.
what is happening out there at the Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Sport. But even before I allow you to share with us, the madness that is actually happening out there, Randy, it is quite appalling. It is quite disturbing to know that that ministry is responsible. Its core responsibilities to youth, culture, and sport. And we can do an assessment over the 2 years to across this country in communities to find out whether they have benefited tremendously from what the ministry has to offer, all the support, whether finances, whether by way of equipment and all manner of things. Nothing is happening really at sports and culture. All that I know that is happening, Mr. Ramson, like Afan Ali, they're heading into these communities making wild promises without any sort of accountability, and just throwing money here, throwing money there, all over the place to selected communities. And that is not cutting it, Randy. It is not cutting it.
Yeah. What I will say is this. I want to deal with each department separately. Let us start. We'll start with culture, because we saw, and I'll tell you why I'm starting with culture. Now, I'm starting with culture because there is something that we need to address frontally.
Yes.
And that's the role that the minister's wife is playing in the ministry. Right? Before we even get into that, what is very interesting and what is very instructive is that the Minister of Culture, Youth, and Sport has reportedly on many occasions said that this is not the ministry that he wanted. That's the first thing.
Wow,
and he doesn't want to be there. That's not his passion. It's not his
forte, his
background.
interest.
It's not his forte. And so I'm assuming this is why we're getting this sort of approach by him. He is very, very concerned, mind you, about the optics. He's very concerned about the photographs. He's very concerned about the the ribbon cutting, right? He is the
Yeah.
ceremonial minister, apparently. He's the minister of ceremonies and cutting ribbons, right? And taking out picture,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But he is not very concerned with policy. He's not very
Yes.
concerned with how do we work as a people to ensure that culture, youth, and sport moves forward. And I can say this because, as we would have said today, there has been no attempt to move the culture, youth, or sport policy forward.
Mm-hmm.
The culture, youth, yeah, the culture, the youth, or the sport policy. The youth policy, for all intents and purpose, has been the one that has moved the farthest under the APNU AFC.
Yeah.
It was presented to the parliament, right?
Yes.
And it would have from 2017. It had a 3-year lifespan before it had to be updated. Last we heard that the minister said they'll be working on it. No movement on the sport policy. I know that Ruel Johnson is there next to the minister. I don't know what he's doing there, but there's no movement on the cultural policy either. And so from his actions, we know that he is not very concerned with that. He's concerned with the optics and the photos.
Yes.
But let me go back to the issue of the minister's wife, Miss Alana Sibaran, who allegedly is acting in the capacity of cultural advisor to the minister. Allegedly. She has been seen coordinating, planning, and executing events for the ministry. Mm-hmm. This was the woman that the artists of Guyana, recognized artists of Guyana, had to go and audition in front of her so that they can be a part of the One Guyana concert. Had to subject themselves to auditions in front of the minister's wife so that she can select the people. And so we are asking, Guyanese are asking, listen, who is paying this woman? Does she have a contract with the ministry? And we don't even need to mention the obvious conflict of interest that is.
Exactly. Nepotism.
And nepotism. Right. And so just imagine if Annette Ferguson, when she was minister, had her husband working in her office.
Oh, man, yes.
Just imagine. And running around like if he's a director of something. This is what has happened at the Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Sport. It has become a nepotilist. Where is it called? I'm trying to get the word properly. This sense of nepotism.
Yeah.
And reports of the minister's wife, father, billing stage and doing all manner of things. These are the reports coming out. And so we have what's happening in culture right now is that the director of culture was being relegated to probably an office girl.
A desk clerk.
A desk clerk. Mm-hmm. And we have the minister's wife, who is essentially taking up the responsibility of the director of culture. That is what has happened. And again, people want to know, what is her role? Is she being paid? Is she contracted? What's the terms of agreement that the ministry has with the minister's wife? I don't think people understand how outrageous this is.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
But Randy, if you can pause a bit, the information you have, because based on the queries and concerns you have, you're asking the question aloud publicly whether this woman is being paid, what are her benefits,
right?
What is the contractual arrangements or obligations, right?
Right.
Well, for me, I need to find out from you. I don't know if you got a sort of information whether this woman is at work every day from whether 8 in the morning to 4:30 or 9 in the morning to 5 o'clock. Because if you're spending that quality of time as a public servant, obviously you got to be receiving some sort of benefits.
Well, that is the thing. The agreement with the ministry, whether or not there is an agreement, or she's just helping her husband out in the office. I don't know. I don't know whether she's hired as a consultant or she's just coming to bring your wife today, bring your wife to work day every day, apparently. And she's coming there to help him out because I do not know. We do not know. They have not made anything public. What we do know is that she is planning, coordinating, and executing events
So
at the ministry.
She's probably the advisor on events coordination.
I don't know.
Probably we can put, we can assume.
Well, we have to assume because we do not know. And this is, again, just imagine if this was the situation under the APNUAs. Let's just say that Nicolette had her husband running around, doing the job that the director of culture was supposed to do. You would have heard loud cries. Right? You would have heard cries from the guardians of this and the guardians of that.
Yes. Yes.
Where are those voices now? Where are the people in the private sector and the civil service? Let's say civil service.
The private sector and the civil society.
Civil society. Where are they? Where are these people who are concerned about transparency and good governance? We have a minister's wife running about doing the job that the ministry hired a director to do.
Well, Randy, perhaps they're all these players in the various organizations, whether civil society, public, the private sector, whether the guardians of democracy, they've all fallen asleep. They've all fallen asleep because you know why, Randy? And we must call it for what it is. These people are benefiting tremendously. They're benefiting tremendously. So nobody would want us to mash on Ramson stores or on Ali stores or on Parak stores, because the minute you mash on their toes, they know exactly what coming after. The discrimination and the victimization. So continue, Randy.
I'm sticking with culture. Now we know that the theater fraternity is a big part of cultural events. Is a big. They make up a huge landscape of our cultural tapestry, the theater sphere. Yes. And so we have seen the death of theater in this country. Now, the National Cultural Center has been the home of theater since it was built, and it was established as the largest theater space in the Caribbean. I think it still holds that title. Okay. Right? And so that has been the home of theater for all the years. It houses the National School of Theater Arts and Drama, right? National School of Theater Arts and Drama, the drama company, it houses those people there. Now, let me tell you what we saw from Ramson. Ramson came in and he decided that, you know what? We will move the rental fee from the National Culture Center from $120,000 to $500,000.
Wow!
This happened a few months ago, and it was a big uproar.
Yes, I read
a unilateral decision by the minister. Right? Yeah. And then, of course, he recanted on that. He went back on that, and the rental went back down. Now, there are complaints from producers. These people who put on the plays and the comedy shows, and if you want to go and rent the cultural center for your graduation, these people have been complaining that in order to rent the National Cultural Center, you have to call the minister.
What?
You have to request, the minister has to know what is your production, who gonna be in it, apparently. And so these are the reports coming out. It has gotten so bad, Annette, that one of the most popular and the biggest producers in this country, she produced one of the most famous, I'm not going to call her name, one of the most famous yearly satirical review show.
Yes.
Everybody come up knowing this satirical review show. Had to call in order for her to get permission to rent, not to borrow or beg for it, to rent the National Culture Center to do this show that has been about before Ramson born. She had to let her husband, who is connected with the government, call the president, call President Ali to instruct Ramson to let them rent the National Culture Center. That is how bad it is. I want people to wrap their minds around that. And when you see the degradation and the decline of theater in Guyana, you can point your fingers at the minister who was stifled and decided that everything must happen from his office. Right? You now have to call and pull strings to get it, because apparently the National Cultural Center belongs to Ramson Jr. and Senior.
But probably it's the private property. But isn't
Right.
it the National Cultural Center is a semi-autonomous body? Isn't
No.
it has its
The
own
center is fully
governance,
funded by
with staff?
No. The National Culture Center is fully funded and run by the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. They come directly under them. They don't have what they do is that what they have is an administration. They have a certain directors that deal with production. They have a manager, and so they take bookings and they deal with the public. Right?
Okay.
And they normally don't discriminate. If the slot is open and you have the money to rent the culture center, you go and you pay for rental. Yes. It has always been that very open approach to the public. Now the minister got no, apparently because he father built the culture center. So you got go and beg him if you want to rent the culture center. And these are the sort of things that we are seeing. Another issue, if we can just, as we're talking about the theater fraternity.
Yes.
Now, a few weeks ago, the minister summoned some local producers and he said to them, look, we at the ministry want to re-energize theater in Guyana. We want to see more serious plays being done. There's a lot of comedy happening, but he wants to see more serious plays, and suggested that the ministry will fund 4 serious plays a year, right? One each quarter. That is nice. That is fine. I welcome anything like that. I welcome the ministry supporting the rebirth and the re-energizing of theater in Guyana. But in that same meeting, when asked about the National Drama Festival, and for those persons who don't know, the National Drama Festival is a yearly event that gives everybody in the country an opportunity to come with a group. You have various categories. You have open category, which is the seniors and the more experienced actors, juniors, churches, schools. And so everybody has an opportunity to take part in this festival and win prizes and cash. And this drama festival is administered and run by the National School of Theatre Arts and Drama, right? Which is, I think, is still headed by Ms. Margaret Lawrence.
Okay.
Right. So that has been happening all the years. Under us, we had the drama festival. Is, of course, when COVID came, everything kind of ceased.
Yes.
Now we haven't seen it in 2021, 2022. You can't tell me it's COVID because you're holding cricket carnival with thousands of people and all manner of things. The country has opened up. And so the actors in Guyana, the theater fraternity, kind of asking around what is happening with Drama Festival. But I will tell you this, like the management of the National Cultural Center, the National Drama Festival has been taken away from the School of Theatre Arts and Drama
What?
And apparently and reportedly, it is now being administered from the office of the minister. So I don't know who the minister got in the office that know about running a national drama festival, that they would take it away from the people at the School of Theatre Arts and Drama.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have not seen, and I'm saying this to say to you that at that meeting, the minister hinted that the National Drama Festival is too expensive.
What?
Now, this is what he intimated as to why they might not do it.
Yeah.
Now, let me say this very clear and loudly. This is the same government and the same ministry that splurged billions of dollars on Cricket Carnival. This is the same ministry that just gave the artists who performed at the One Guyana concert double their salary.
Yes.
This is the same drama festival that we would have been running without oil money. So you can't come and tell us that. What we are saying is this. Yes, support serious theater in Guyana, but it is important that we keep drama festival alive, because what that is an opportunity for the average group, not the senior and not the experienced actors, to come and get to be a part of theater. When anybody can walk off the street with a play and decide that they want to be a part of drama festival. That's the beauty of it. And so we're sincerely hoping that the ministry does not do away with the National Drama Festival. And so that, again, adding to this slow decline of theater that we're seeing in the country. And before I end off on culture, I want to say this. I know we said that those artists got double their salary, right? Right. And we're happy for that.
Yes.
But you may know, and those persons looking at this program may know, that the One Guyana concert wasn't the only thing to happen during the Cricket Carnival time.
No.
They had many other concerts. That had many other artists. But you singled out those artists for that particular concert and you gave them that. No. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. One of the events was what they called a Night of Legends. A Night of Legends. We had people like Charmaine Blackmon and Bonnie Oz and a whole lot of the big people.
Yes. Rockcliffe, Eddie Rockcliffe too.
Right. I can't remember all the artists. I can't confirm or deny, right? But they had a lot of the senior Guyanese artists there.
Yes. Now,
after that event was over, the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport told those legends, like they calling them legends, we bring in the Night of Legends, told them that they cannot be paid because the show didn't make any money. This is the same people who were splurging on Cricket Carnival at the same time. Eventually, fortunately, they negotiated with them and they gave them half the money.
Wow.
So the legends get half the payment, while the artists from One Guyana concert
get 100%.
Double the payment. And these are the things that people don't know. Again, as I said, what is happening in culture, youth, and sport is not as sexy as some of the other big political news. And so a lot of it goes under the radar.
Yes.
But listen, I am on the case. As you may realize, I am on the case.
Yes, that is what I realize.
Yeah.
You know, but Randy, if you may allow me to stick one in, because
yes,
Mashramani will come on the culture. Am I correct?
Right. I'm get to that yet.
Okay, good. Well, continue.
No, I'm happy that you brought that up because we have sounded the alarm about the sidelining of Mashramani. Right? The pushing aside of Mashramani and the augmenting and the glorifying of Carnival. And it seems as though, we don't know, this government wants, and this minister wants to minimize Carnival. Sorry, minimize the Mashramani. Now, let me ask you this. Do you know that Mashramani was launched?
Yes, yes, about 2 weeks or so ago. And
Well,
I was pleasantly surprised because there was no big announcement
no
to say
fanfare.
exactly no fanfare.
No fanfare. Normally, the launching of Mashramani is a big hullabaloo.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you know that we have been doing what we call this public competition for the MASH theme every year?
Yes, I know it used to happen in the past.
Right. People, it was a competition for the MASH
Yes.
theme. That added to the festivity of Mashramani. Look, what is the MASH theme this year? Who won? No
Mm-hmm.
competition.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw a theme that says mashing and something as one Guyana.
There's a PPP team.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we had a launch of Mashramani that nobody really didn't know about. Huh? Nobody know about. We haven't heard about any dates for the competitions as yet. You know, soca, calypso, the
Mm-hmm.
school competitions. Normally by this time, these
You have
things are already calendared and it's out there. People know what is happening. And one just needs to ask themselves, let us juxtapose that against the fanfare that we saw for Cricket Carnival months before. But I asked my people of Guyana, what is Carnival to you? What does Carnival mean to you? We know what Mashramani is to us. We know that all our cultural, fiber is entwined in it.
Yep. Yep.
Everything.
Celebration
Mashramani is us.
celebration after hard work.
Right, right. But I wonder whether or not the money for the fanfare for so as to have a big hullabaloo about Mashramani was spent on Carnival or Cricket Carnival. I wonder.
Well, you see, Randy, if you may allow me to say
Mm-hmm.
this, I recall because I am currently still on suspension, but
Yes.
I recall leading up or during the celebrations of the cricket carnival, I made a post on social media asking some tough questions where the
Yep. So having some problem there, MP, with your device. Right.
a day like today, the government never provided any responses, not whether publicly or in the National Assembly, right? There's one. Secondly, Randy, we need to remind our listeners and viewers, it is not only to date in 2022, we're seeing the People's Progressive Party Civic in an attempt to downplay Mashramani, right? To downplay Mashramani. This has been happening since pre-May 2015,
Mm-hmm.
pre-May 2015. But it is because of the resilience of our people. It is because we know how Mashramani was actually birthed. The PNC was able to stand up to the PPPC and say, we must have Mashramani. We
Yeah.
cannot be Guyanese. Continue,
Yeah.
Randy.
And you know what is so distasteful about the whole thing is that Carnival means absolutely nothing to us. You know,
No.
Carnival historically is this celebration after Lent. They ain't even decided, you know what, we can bring it after Lent in Guyana. No, we just bringing it anytime and throw it here. So it is such a vacuous, kind of empty celebration. What is it? Put on some feathers and jump down the road. It has no meaning to us. It has no connection to us. It has no history here. And so it is so strange. And this is why I believe that these people are anti-culture. And it is so strange to see them try to foist this on us and minimize
Yes. Yes.
I think something is going on with I think you're back now.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, and try to minimize the whole thing of matrimony and what matrimony means to us. But we are waiting. We saw the lackluster launch, but we're waiting to see what happens with matrimony. And if, there's a saying, keep the same energy, we hope that Ramson and this government keeps the same energy. They keep the same energy come matrimony.
Yes.
The same energy they had at Cricket Carnival. I want to see the president dancing on stage, matrimony too. And so let us keep our eyes focused on that. It is very interesting to see the behavior of this government and this ministry that is for me, we downplay the importance of it. And we're talking about culture here. Culture is very, very important to our country, our theater fraternity and our theater sphere, our entertainers, our artists. All of them are very, very important. They are part of the cultural fabric of this country. Right?
Exactly.
That tapestry, it wouldn't be as colorful without those people, those artists and those performers and those actors. They're the people that bring the entertainment, and we have to figure out a way to treat them better than how they're being treated right now.
Exactly. And Randy, just before we move off from culture, I know here we're speaking specifically to Carnival and matrimony. Culture also encapsulates August 1st. Emancipation Day.
All of those are national holidays.
Yes, and Randy, for the emancipation celebration, Agda, and I think a few small communities around the regions here in Guyana, they too were denied financial support. Yeah, to roll off a successful cultural activity. Why, Randy? Don't we fool ourselves? We know who make up this. We know who are the constituents of emancipation. We know who make up the constituencies of where the Baggotsville, number 53 there in East Berbice, where the Denhamsted. We know who are the constituents. So we know what's happening, Randy. So continue.
Yeah, definitely. And that was in such poor taste. I find most things that Ramson does is in poor taste, distasteful. Now, you will refuse to support and give the financial support that has been historically there to the African Association that's just putting on this yearly celebration. That, let me, on that point, I mean, this might just be my own opinion on this. But I would have observed Ramson in the National Assembly. I'm fortunate to be close to the proceedings.
Yes.
Right? Sometimes I'm right there in the house. And there was a sense when Ramson was, coming up as a young politician and, this educated young man, it was a sense of a breath of fresh air. It's not one of the old tires, but that sense of optimism that this is a young man with some sort of difference would have been snapped out the minute he opened his mouth in the National Assembly. The vitriol, the vindictive behavior, it's just as if he came there, right, and has forgotten that he is now minister and he's not the he in the PYO, but he's a minister for everybody. And when you listen to him talk, it's such a disappointment.
So
true. It is such a disappointment. Like, you're a young minister, be a minister with the difference, no?
Yes.
But again, the public might not understand that if they don't listen to the National Assembly. This man spoke for about 3 minutes on culture, youth, and sport in his budget presentation.
You're correct.
And the other 27 minutes of his half an hour, he went on about PNC and this and elections. You are a young minister of culture, youth, and sport. You took 3 minutes out of your time to talk about policy. And so that's a disappointment for me. I just wanted to go off on that tangent because sometimes, you know, this it is such a disappointment when you listen to him. And I had, even though I'm on the other side of the bench, I had high expectations to him. Yes, he has failed miserably. Let me. I know we only have a certain amount of time. That's why I'm trying to push it.
Yes.
Let me go to you. Now, this is another sore point. Oh, I want to say this before I forget. We're going to come to all the cuts that were made in youth. Now, you were a minister, and you know every morning, well, whichever morning you choose, but every week you have your meeting with your departments and your staff members, right?
Yes.
Right. This is a normal thing. I want to tell you something that might surprise you. The staff members at the Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Sport have said to me that they're disgusted at the fact that they have to stand up in the sun every Sunday morning to have this meeting.
Every Monday
morning. Slave driver Ramson decided that he will take his staff in the sun on the parking lot to have his Monday morning meetings. And the people are complaining. When there are chairs with AC upstairs, you know. I have never heard of anything crazier than that.
Never. But you see what's gonna happen. While the staff are aware that what he's doing is wrong, they're fearful to speak out, because the minute you open your mouth to speak against these people, ideology, their philosophies, they do away with you. So people want to hold the jobs, if persons like that, in excess of 25 years. So why would I want to give up 25 years to say, man, I mean, yes, you would want to speak, but because of my time nearing for retirement and all kind of things, I want to safeguard my little benefits and my years.
Right. So nobody, it's a politics of fear.
Yes.
But he's afraid to speak. So you go down and stand up in the sun every Monday morning for the minister to talk to you. I don't understand it. I just wanted to stick that in. Let's go to youth. Let's go to youth. You know, when when Ramson inherited that ministry, when they were installed, and he inherited that ministry, he inherited a department of youth with many programs that were aimed at helping specifically those disadvantaged young people. One such program was the night school.
Yes.
Right. That was, the funding for that was abruptly cut. Another such program was the Bancour in Berbice and in Linden. Funding for that cut. For example, the Sophia school, the technical place at Sophia there, the name is eluding me right now, right? The practical instruction center there, Sophia. They have not seen a new training program in 2 years.
Wow.
And at the same time, they have seen cuts to many of the courses that benefit the young people. So the Minister Ramson went in and decided to play cutty ranks. Cutty ranks with the Department of Youth. And on top of that, he took a PPP party hack, Sur Singh, who was a teacher apparently that they said this PPP party hack. and placed him in a position where a professional public servant should be, that is the director of youth.
Wow.
And so consequently, we have the Department of Youth in shambles. In shambles. Let me give you a simple example of the corruption that is happening. And these are the things, as I said, will not make the news. Luckily for us, right? I'm on the case and we getting the information. Just the other day, they have training programs in Georgetown. And you have to feed the young people in these training programs. The people are complaining that the bread that they're using at this training program got to come from Region 6.
Wow. Pretty.
Somebody party friend in Region 6. That's how far the bread. And so a lot of times they don't have the supplies because it got come tail from Region 6. Whoever the director of youth, this PPP party hook up with this contract in Region 6 to bring the bread, because apparently there is no bread in Georgetown. There's nobody in Georgetown that can provide this bread. And so that's the level of corruption that's happening in there. Yes. And so you're seeing cuts to these programs. Now, interestingly, MP, I don't know if the people know out there that when Ramson cut funding for the night schools, for all those young people who are trying to those mature students who want to get a chance to write CXC, they come home in the evening and there's a night school in their community. They cut that program. Do you know that it was IPADG, the same organization that they just cut the funding to, that has recently taken them to court because they stopped giving them the subventions? That same organization picked up the slack in 2020 and was funding those night schools. Yes. The same organization that Jagdeo decided that he is going to go hellfire on because there was this discussion on this stripping apartheid. And Jagdeo decided, hey, well, we ain't giving y'all no more money. This organization that has been funding and working with Afro-Guyanese from since 2016, 2017, and was funding those night schools. Mind you, those night schools weren't benefiting Afro-Guyanese alone, right? They were not benefiting Afro-Guyanese alone. They were benefiting everybody in that community.
Good morning.
Right.
I have been seeing a couple of things.
She is here, but I don't think she's aware that she's on camera.
Should be proactive.
Hello,
Operator.
You're on live.
Yes,
you're on live.
And I think
yes. MP Coretta McDonald, welcome. You're here just in time. We're just about to jump over to sports, and I would like to, have your thoughts on. I know the National Athletic Championships just concluded, and we're just about to talk about sports. We went through the corruption in culture, youth, and we're about to talk about sports. Well, I want to start the conversation about sports, and you can jump in by saying that the National Sports Commission essentially was given $3.2 billion at the beginning of this year. And I have not seen where that money has gone. When we have athletes coming back and saying that they had skill, they didn't go with any doctor. And I know of the issues with the nationals, so I'm going to take my leave here and ask MP Coretta McDonald, who of course is wearing her teaching the teacher's cap as the general secretary of the teachers union. To tell us about what played out at the national championships.
Well, Annette and Randy, good night to you. Good night to your viewers, and thanks for having me. Though I'm being here late, and this is not because I wanted to join your program late, but this is because of me just touching down from the quarantine, which is one of the constituencies that I happen to be part of. They're experiencing quite a lot of issues there, especially in the coalition area, and I must say that, especially in the coalition supported areas where there's flooding and machines are being used in areas such as Wim, Bloomfield, Letterkenny, Port Morant, and so on. And nothing is happening to that NDC there, Lancaster, Hawk Style, that Firish, Gibraltar, number 1, those areas, nothing is happening there. And persons have suffered tremendous loss again. Wow. And we saw the Minister of Agriculture coming with a supplementary budget there for more monies. But we're going to talk about that at another forum. We're talking about sports. This year, we hosted the 60th edition of the National Schools Swimming, Cycling, Track and Field and Teachers Championship. And boy, it was a disappointment, let me say this. Except for the athletes putting on their show and the officials doing what they had to do, the planning of nationals was a disappointment. As a matter of fact, let me start off from the level of the districts. Every year we have to be battling for districts to have new uniforms for their athletes. Could you imagine that some of those districts, after the athletes would have performed, let me say that, displayed their skills on the track, they are asking them to return those running gears as well as track suits, and they're going to store them for the next year. And you know, we've been saying that this is unfair. At least our athletes, after performing, especially for those who are not going to come again, they should have something to remember that, look, I participated in 2019. 2020, 2021, we had COVID, so we had nothing. Now, I would have thought that after 2 years absence, this year, the 60th edition of the championship, it would have been there with a bang. We would not have had athletes crying out for 1, late arrival of meals, 2, meals not properly cooked, 3, shortage of water in the schools that housed them, no proper security, bathroom facilities weren't properly fixed, and food coming from Georgetown to Lenora. I mean, when there were kitchens provided right there in Region 3 at some of our schools. We had, I don't know when this is going to end, but I can say to you safely, while there were some teething problems in 2019, and we might have had some in 2018, 2022 was the worst of it. And I want to say this. Whenever you have the PPP there is massive corruption. And I'm saying this to say this. The Georgetown districts, let me look at the Georgetown districts. The Georgetown districts, what they have gotten accustomed to, and what I know when I was actively a part of sports in South Georgetown many years ago, we submitted a budget. The funding was given to us. We went to the supermarkets and we did our purchasing, and our cooks, we identified persons to perform the duties as cooks, and we took them with us wherever we were going. We had the kitchen right there. We had our food supplies right there, and we were able to cook. We had our cooks there cutting up their meat, having it well seasoned the day or 2 days before, putting it in freezers. So all they had to do the next day was take out within a certain time, whether it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning. They took out their meat, allow it to thaw out. They started mixing, whether they're going to do bakes or whatever they're going to do for the athletes for breakfast and that kind of thing. This year, we had our Georgetown teams, especially It is alleged that one senior officer within the Ministry of Education for the Georgetown department was the supplier. The teachers have complained that they were given stocks 2 days at a time. It was so disgusting that they went further to say, if you were cooking chicken this morning, chicken came at about 6:30 or somewhere there in the morning to be prepared for lunch. And these are the kinds of things that our athletes have to go through. I said in my closing remarks at Lenora, unless we stop playing sport with sports, we're not going to get anywhere. And if we really are serious about competing at the level of Jamaica and Trinidad and St. Kitts and Grenada and St. Lucia, we've got to be serious about what we're doing. Our athletes, their parents, and our teachers spend countless hours preparing themselves for these sports, from inter-house right through to the national championship. And when they turn up at the national championship, leave at the site, leaving their homes, this is what they're met with. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw this, but on Friday, the last day of the sports, the officials refused to work for about an hour because they were told that they were not going to be paid their little stipends on Friday evening. Now, I'm not even going to go there because that too, teachers left that stadium at 12:30 and 1 o'clock the morning. That's when they got home because they had to line up. Sorry about that. They had to line up to collect that little stipend. In previous years, we knew who the announcers were, and so you did the package for the announcers. So when you're going to pay the little stipends, you call all the announcers in. So if you have 4 announcers, 4 come in at a time. The recorders, you put them in a package. So when you call for recorders, 5, 6 recorders, they come in at the same time. So you don't have to be going back and forth. This time around, it was, I don't know. We had a whole new set of persons running sports who themselves don't know anything about sports, hence the kinds of confusion that we had. But let me move from that level and go to the higher level. We had the president is usually the patron. Whoever the president happens to be is usually the patron of the games.
Yes.
The president was invited. I know they're going to say, well, Granger never went to a sports, but on the Granger, sports was better run. Let me say that. We had the prime minister going out there and making big, fancy, glorious statements. We had the Minister of Education. Rather than talking about sports, she went there to talk about, of course, the political gimmicks that they all come with. Like you said, rather than talking about his budget and policy, he spoke for 3 minutes on that and then he went off on his political foolishness. So the Minister of Education was there and she talked about the $50,000 that children will get. I don't know how that is related to sports. I would have been happy to hear the Minister of Education saying to our children, look, come next year, we are going to work feverishly to have 2 more stadiums in two other regions. So that we don't always have to be at Lenora. We can move to Linden, or we can move to New Amsterdam, or we can move to somewhere else. Rather than coming to tell the children they're owed $50,000. $50,000, the children, they want to hear about that. They want to hear about what's happening now for them in terms of their sports. Yep. While you are going to establish these synthetic tracks, it would aid in easing the confusion that we usually have all around the country with grounds not available for inter-house sports and inter-school sports and champion of champions. Yeah. But we're hearing about $50,000. No, but so we heard all these glorious speeches. Yes, what I found sad is that the Minister of Sports, Youth and Sports was nowhere there. Not even he wasn't there on Sunday, the opening. He wasn't there on Monday. He wasn't there on Tuesday. No day of the week he was there. As a matter of fact, you hear what I'm telling you? He was there.
That they had cameras there. If y'all should have tell you that cameras there.
He wasn't there for any day. As a matter of fact, there was no senior government official apart from those who were there on Sunday at the opening. You might have had one or two gracing the stadium during the week, but not anybody of significance. Let me put it that way. And all these ministers talk about one Guyana and one Guyana. And you know what? Our national championship is the only championship where we have the opportunity to meet over 1,500 athletes at one time. They didn't find that as being important. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm going to be as straight as ever. Athletics in Guyana, when we look at athletics, we see two major race dominating athletic sports, track and field. Amerindians and Africans. So we see Afro-Guyanese and we see the Amerindian indigenous people there. We have a few of our Indian children, students, boys and girls, who participate not at any big scale. You might find a few of them in the cycling, you might find a few of them, but the majority there. And so the thing here is athletics is not important to the PPP government. You notice how much money we spent for Cricket Carnival? We could not even find a quarter of that to spend for our national track and field championship. And that's how important our youths are to the Minister of Sports, to the Prime Minister Mark Phillips, to the Minister of Education and all the others. That's how important our children are. And so you see, when they go around the place and talk about one Guyana, I really don't know what one Guyana they're talking about. It got to be the Guyana they're talking about with the 3 Fs. That's the one Guyana.
Friends.
You know, Randy and corrector, I must thank you. And I know we've gone over our time, but I trust the operator would see the need for the extra time because we're discussing pertinent information here.
Yep.
You know, that our listeners and people would want to hear. So you can indulge us a bit, please, if you don't mind. But for the Ministry of Education budget for 2022, colleagues, it was $74.4 billion. $74.4 billion. And if my memory serves me accurate, I'm trying to figure out whether the first supplementary financial paper that was passed on August 8th, 2022, just before we went into recess, whether the Ministry of Education was granted supplemental. So even if any money were approved, therefore the ministry would have already enjoyed in excess of, you know, what the figure is, because as it is right now, it's $74.4 billion. Coretta, where this money gone?
It got into building apartment buildings. Into the construction of apartment buildings.
Let me say this. If I was a betting man, I would put my money on the fact that neither Minister Ramson nor Kashif Mohammed, who is the chairman of the National Sports Commission, know what the second page, not the cover, the second page of the National Sports Policy, the draft National Sports Policy looks like. I would bet that they have not opened that document if I was a betting man. But let's move past that. I think.
But Randy, you know what? I need to say this. I was hoping that at the Nationals Championship this year, we would have had athletes being awarded scholarship. This year, I can tell you there were tumbling of many records were shattered this year, which is saying to us that our athletes, our children, they had all of this energy pepped up inside of them because there was no nationals in 2020, none in 2021. So they came out there and they did their thing. And so we had numerous records that were broken and new timings being recorded. And the 60th championship, not even an athlete. As a matter of fact, we had two public-spirited citizens who made donations of running shoes. I think to 2 athletes. But I was hoping that we would have from the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, some cycle being donated to one of our cyclists, some scholarship being donated, being given to a few of our students. We have there our teachers who are always part of the championship from under 21 level to over 41 and over. And we had nothing like that happening.
Yeah.
I know that our athletes were disappointed because they felt that at some point the installed president would have made his appearance like he would normally do. And he would make, I know the teachers too were disappointed because they were hoping that they would have a grand announcement to say, other than the 8%, we're going to give you 5% more, or we're going to give you according to your status. For AMs, you get $5,000 more. For SMs, you get nothing of the sort. It was a disappointment this year's sports in terms of the sport itself.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that sensible people would be placed in committees to run the sports, to do this, what is supposed to be done in terms of the management level, at the management level for sports. But I must extend our gratitude to Banks DIH, our own local company. They've been with us since Noah was a scout, and they continue to plug millions of dollars into our national championship. And I want to thank them for that, because without Banks DIH, our athletes would not have been going home with the medals they went home with and the trophies they went home with. Our champion districts would not have been going home with those huge trophies that they went home with. And so we must thank Banks. And we're hoping that other companies can come on board. Don't just make a whole lot of talks and promises. Come on board. Let's have a better competition. Let's reward our athletes when they perform, and let's join in calling for a sports academy so that our athletes can be placed in that academy and they can focus on their given talents and the disciplines that they're part of. That's the only way we'd be able to compete at the level of Jamaica and Trinidad and those other Caribbean islands.
Yes.
Let me just jump in. I know we're running out of time, but
we should seek to wrap up in another 15 minutes, right?
All right, great. So let me say this. MP Ferguson made a good point about the amount of money allocated to the ministry, and I'm connected that to the what you've been saying, MP McDonald. And I've said this on a number of occasions. I don't know if Ransom talks to Priya, or Priya talks to what's his name again, Dharamlal, because I specifically mentioned those three ministries
because they're connected.
There is a problem in some regions controlled over the RDC. You know, the education ministry is connected to the RDC and everything.
Yeah.
Some schools are asking the RDC for help in terms of maintaining their grounds, because the Ministry of Education is very clear that the Ministry of Education doesn't put any real money to maintenance or upgrading of grounds. That's not their thing. The Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport basically takes a hands-off approach. Well, the school grounds is a ministry owned, Ministry of Education owned. The Ministry of Local Government said, well, there's now we think too. So what you have is that school grounds are left in a gray area. Who really taking care of it? The ministry sends, I think it's 3 times a term for weeding, right? And so we have lots of grounds that we can do jungle warfare in right now.
Yes.
At the schools. And so there isn't anybody that's stepping in and say, all right, Priya, here what? We got X amount of money. Mind you, the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport got to spend out $1.4 billion by the 23rd of this month. They got $1.4 billion sit down there. But nobody's calling and say, all right, Priya, hear what? Let us work out some MOU where we will take care of a certain set of grounds. Or Dharamlal, Priya calling Dharamlal and say, hear what? In these regions, I need your ministry to help us with these school grounds. So what you have is that you have our students in a place where they really don't have any facilities there. And so this is a fundamental problem that got to fix the structure and on the operation. Who really taking care? How much money of that $70-something billion going towards developing those school grounds? We don't know, right? And so I'm saying that to say, as you said, Coretta, there are a few things that got to be put in place structurally if we want to compete or even start to move in the direction of a Jamaica or a Trinidad or a Barbados even, because there are certain things in place. It starts with having a proper policy. It starts with ensuring that your school structure and system is worked out properly, and there are facilities and there are coaches and there are programs there. We need to, the Ministry of Culture, with the Department of Sport, got to sit down with CPC and say, we'll give some incentives for you to train more PE teachers.
Yeah.
You know, these are the certain things that gotta happen, but it seems to be a disconnect with those ministries who can help with sport development, in sport education, and local government. And so with that, we have what we have. We have and the most surprising thing as I finish off here is that we are still taking back uniforms from athletes in this republic.
No, because that was going to happen, Randy. Okay, they will use what was used this today. But come in next year's budget, you will find money allocated or budgeted for new clothing for athletes. I know those monies will be siphoned off, because if I got uniforms in the storage, well laundried and well stocked, why would I want to spend money on new things? But we know the monies will be diverted in other areas, because that is what is happening. Correct. You attended the National Assembly yesterday. For the $4.45 billion to be spent. To be spent from effective from today to
the 31st.
And we know that is no way the ministries will expend all of the monies that were approved yesterday. Public infrastructure alone, God, how much must be? But I think it was 18 billion or something more for roads. This is where monies are being siphoned off into construction roads. And we know if you gotta get a 10-inch, a 10 or 2 inches thickness, we know we are inch charge. So the other money going in somebody's pocket. If we are supposed to be 23 meters in length, you understand? They're gonna give you a 30 meters in length. And we know 3 meters money going into somebody's pocket. So that is
Annette and Randy, I learned of the apartment buildings that we have on the East Coast. I learned of the 2 mansions that are being constructed. They're probably almost the complete at the completion point. Well, wait, I come into that. The 2 mansions in Region 6. And then they got Pleasance Mansion, and the one in Region 3 that we know about, that one is completed. Less than 2 years after that individual was appointed a minister, that mansion has been completed. And these are the people who like to throw remarks. They always like to target Annette when she's in Parliament. Annette, talk about the mansion you got, but people ain't talking now about mansions. People ain't talking now about mansions, but I got a couple of the pictures I can show the nation. And we must ask the questions where these people work to get the monies to put up these mansions that they're putting up.
No, but Randy and Coretta, the difference between me and them is that I can show where I get me money from. Let them show to the public where they get their money from. I can show. I've thrown it out there. This is where I get my money from to build whatever I have.
I'm hoping that the Minister of Agriculture would go and visit those places, the Lancaster Hock style NDC, that entire stretch there, and offer the kind of cushion to those people there who lost loads and loads of livestock. You go there now, you see people yards, mud. I visited several homes there, you know, mud in the yard. When you look at where the people have to bring out their sheep and their cows, and lots, they've lost. A young lady showed me a whole lot of bones from her turkeys and layers and some what we call yard fowls. They drowned.
Well, correct.
And since back then, they have not received anything. And this time again, they're saying, we're not hopeful that we're going to receive anything. So I hope the Minister of Agriculture, because I got names to ask him, because these persons said they've submitted their names over and over and they didn't hear anything. So I'm waiting to ask him about these persons whose names I would have collected. These people are ridiculous. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, but Coretta, just yesterday, the Ministry of Agriculture, I think for drainage and irrigation, received, it might be in excess of $3 billion. And when Mr. Mustafa was questioned on it by Ramjatan and others, he said, oh yes, they got equipment deployed in this community and that community. So since you were on the ground today, rubbing shoulders, and you have the evidence, you got to pick up the phone and tell Zulfi.
Of course. Let me tell you. Yes, last evening, the chairman, Miss Sharon Collins, Sharon was on video saying it's over a year. She was down at WIM. She did a live, and she was saying, look, this is WIM Village. Lancaster's right next door. It's over a year I've been asking for the machines to come to do some desilting in the Lancaster, Liverpool, Manchester, Small Alness, Big Alness, Ulverston, right up to Salton area. Over a year and I can't get it to come. But in WIM and Bloomfield and Letterkenny and those areas, and Tane and so on, over and over and over and over, machinery would have been there doing work in those areas. And so it's a deliberate act to punish a certain set of people, a deliberate act.
Yes, indeed, indeed. So colleagues, we have 5 minutes into program time. So Randy, I don't know if you have anything you would wish to add before we wrap up.
Yeah, having considered all of the things that we would have spoken about in culture, youth, sport, and the state of that ministry, it is obvious that Minister Ramson is drowning in his own incompetence. But I want to implore, I want to encourage him to swim, because the young people of this nation are depending on you.
Yep.
The artists, the cultural practitioners are depending on you. The sportmen and women are depending on you. The least you can do is try.
Yes.
The least you can do is ease up with the photo ops and figure out what is really happening in your ministry. The least you could do is put things in place so things can work properly. And not try to be a little tin pot dictator in your office and you control everything.
Right?
We know that you don't really want to be at that ministry, but the least you can do is try, because there are so many people, so many young people and lives are depending on you. That's what I will say. I will implore him to try at least.
That's much fun. Correct.
I'm happy that I would have had this opportunity to come to share with our viewers what exactly is happening in this country and what is the state of mind of the people who are sitting in the seat of government, and the kind of disdain they display to certain groups of people across this country. And the kind of flooding that we're talking about, it's not only on the quarantine, it's happening throughout the country. But you look at the places, the areas where they're rushing down to offer help. You look at those areas I let me mention this one as I'm on it. When we went to Alness, we have Junior Crawford, and he is living where his late father, Senior Counsel Marcel Crawford, lived. There are 2 streets. The house is between 2 streets. Some of the other streets, work were done in some of those streets. The coalition did work in all of those streets, but with time and so on, some of those streets, they would have deteriorated because after 2 years, no maintenance. This is what you have. But we have seen that some streets were resurfaced from 2020 to now. And those 2 streets where Junior Crawford happens to live, the one on the right and the one on the left, nobody doing anything to those 2 streets. Nobody. So you know what the residents have done? They ask their neighbors and so on and other friends to bring out the coconut shell from the back dam when they take off the big shell. Bring them, and they're throwing that on the street to help to maintain the street and to keep the soil firm. We've seen stagnant water, mud in the drains, which is saying that the water isn't going anywhere. One resident, Mr. Suru, I think they call him Suru, something like that they call him. He said to me, he said, my sister, last week, water reached you till almost to your knee.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. So all the people there who got little kitchen gardens, all went down because of the flooding. But I'm hoping that our people are seeing what is happening and they're taking note of these things, whether you're Afro-Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese, Amerindian, Portuguese, you come from those descendants. I hope that you're making note of all of these injustices that are being meted out against you. So come elections time, you know exactly what to do, because the PPP don't care about you. They're concerned about your votes when it's elections time. And watch me, 8% we got now, and you got Joseph Hamilton and all them clowns around defending it. Come 2024, 2023, and 2024, you're going to see how much percent going to come, and they're going to wait till the 9th moment, and they're going to do that to bribe you. But folks, take it, but know where you're putting your eggs, because if they could give you in 2024 and in 2025, they could have given you that in 2023. Exactly. Under the coalition, we had double figure increases, and we had oil then. Mm-hmm. Now that we got the oil monies, we can't get double figures. And we getting, look what we're getting across the board. So the gap between the rich and the poor will continue to widen. That's what I want our people to note.
Yes, thank you very much, colleagues. But even before I bring the curtain finally down, I want to supplement to what you, Coretta, said in terms of the increases in salary. Even the threshold, they have not increased the threshold. So far, I think they had about 4 or 5 budgets, right? They haven't even increased the threshold. So therefore, what it means, the threshold now stands at 75,000 Guyana dollars. So for those who are earning 75,000, when the 8% is added, the salary might move to about 81,000 and change. So they're going to end up paying probably taxes, pay as you earn, the 20% on the 5,000 and change, right? So People's Progressive Party Civic, they like to boast about, Guyanese have disposable income in their pockets, and they can do this and they can do that. What crap is that? This is an oil-rich economy, and the opposition is on record that that public servants should be paid a minimum of 150,000 Guyana dollars. They can do it. They can do it. But you know what they're doing? They're siphoning off the taxpayers' money.
Don't let it sound too nice. The thief in the money.
But the thief, they're stealing our monies, people, barefacedly. So, Coretta, my dear sister and colleague and comrade, Randolph Critchlow, my brother, friend, and colleague, I want to say thank you very much for joining me on this platform. I also want to say thank you very much to Mark Benchcop for allowing us his space so that we could have come, share, and inform our viewers and listeners as to what is happening here in Guyana. So once more, thank you very much. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, listeners, for tuning in. And we look forward to you joining us, I guess, sometime in the near future. With that being said, a pleasant night rest, and may God continue to bless us all. May God continue to bless Guyana. Guyana, things will change. All we gotta do is hold together, bond together, fight together to get rid of this wicked and vindictive government called the People's Progressive Party. God richly bless us all. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.